Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the CBS Arena. Welcome to the Darren Huckabee, Dion Dublin, Paddy Davitt derby. Norwich against...
Two of those three make any relevance or interest. Let's move on.
Norwich facing Coventry here today, a team that's lost their last four on the road against a team that is unbeaten here all season. Going to be a really interesting game. Feels like a mood-setting game is the way we've described it heading into the CBS Arena this afternoon, and we will find out the Norwich team in a couple of minutes' time. Paddy, first and foremost, back at this place, how nice is that? Second, how do you see the team news looking when it drops in about 2 minutes or so?
Well, on the second point, it's really interesting because 3 changes for the Swansea midweek game, and he said they needed to rotate the minutes because of the workload. So you would expect there will be changes, irrespective of how that game ended, which from a Norwich point of view, not good enough. So, yeah, I'd like to see Adam Eder back in, if I'm honest. Wang out. Defensively, you asked him, didn't you? You asked him, indeed. Yeah. You asked him. No, I don't have any silverware to hand over, though.
Does the winner get Paddy Davitt? Is that
that would be a real booby prize. but you asked him about defensively changing it up, and he didn't really give an answer, did he, to suggest that he's A, got too many options, or B, inclination to do that. So time will tell very imminently, but it feels like he needs to change up a little bit for me in defensive areas. I'm not really confident that back four are going to be robust enough against a Coventry team who, as you say, unbeaten here this season and had a good win here midweek against Blackburn, and have spent money. Speaking to some of the Coventry media, spent 19 million in the summer. I know they lost Gyökeres and Hamer, but it's a club who expect to be in the top 6 conversation. So there's no doubt the Norwich back four, whoever it is in front of Angus Gunn, will get tested today.
They will indeed.
9-0 win. What on earth? Go and lie down, my man.
If that looks genius in a couple of hours' time, then no, it definitely won't. But if it does, that would be lovely. We're about a minute away from the team news. It is interesting that this kind of defensive debate that many people are having. Norwich have named the same back five, and actually I'll come back to that because the team news is just out, and here we have it. And I can already see one change to that back five of what I was going to say. Gunn in goal, Stacey, Duffy, Gibson and Sam McCallum start for Norwich City. Sarah and McLean as the midfield two, with Rowe and Poeta on either flank. And how about this, Liam Gibbs in behind Adam Eder. So David Wagner spoke about those changes. He has made them. Just to read you that team again: Gunn in goal, Stacey, Duffy, Gibson and Sam McCallum on his Coventry return start as the back four. Sarah and McLean are the midfield two. We expect John Rowe on the left, or on the right, Poeta on the left, with Liam Gibbs behind Adam Eder, who comes in. The subs bench: George Long, Danny Bartz, Timmy Yanulis, Kellum Fisher, Adam Forshaw, Tony Springett, Onel Hernandez, Christian Fashnacht and Hwang Yu-zhou. So that is how Norwich City line up. And it is the first time, I was going to mention this, Norwich have so far this season, in their opening 10 games of the campaign, named the same back five. That is broken today with Sam McCallum coming in for Dimitri Yanulis in that back four. Jack Stacey and Shane Duffy, and obviously Angus Gunn as well, we'll throw him in as well to the defensive setup, have played every single minute this season. Shane Duffy's particularly interesting because, as we know, international break after this, he will be heading away with Ireland. Just a final run of that Norwich City team: Gunn in goal, Stacey, Duffy, Gibson, McCallum, Sarah and McLean, Rowe, Gibbs, Poeta and Adam Eder. It's very, very interesting. Poeta recalled as well. He was left out at Swansea and was actually part of that triple substitution that we saw. Liam Gibbs hasn't started. Oh, blimey, Leicester. Was that the last time Liam Gibbs started off the top of my head? Did he start against Leicester behind Barnes? Yeah, so I think it's been a little while, and obviously Adam Eder reprieved to the side after being dropped out for Hwang Yu-zhou in midweek, and I think, as expected, those two swap round. So very, very interesting Norwich City lineup this afternoon. Paddy, I know you're kind of multitasking. Let's just get your thoughts on that. What do you make of, in particular, we spoke about the defensive changes, Sam McCallum coming in against his former club?
It's an interesting one, that, because both before and after the game against Swansea, talking about Dimi Yanulis in quite, almost he'd raised the bar, Dimi Yanulis, in terms of himself and his own performance at left back. And interestingly, Wagner also added his rivals as well, which clearly Sam McCallum is his chief rival. So for him to switch around today, can't be anything fitness related because he's on the bench. So that makes you feel it is just a rotational call today. Has he seen something in terms of Coventry setup? Actually, now I think about it, I was speaking to, as I said earlier, some of the local media here, and they are very strong down their right hand side, right wing back. Has he seen something there that he feels favours maybe more defensively McCallum than Yanulis? Time will tell. But to develop the first point we were speaking about, I felt it did need shaking up a little bit. I don't think necessarily I'd have gone Dimi Yanulis out there if I was being pushed and put on the spot. Where would you change it in terms of defensively? I mean, he's gone.
A lot of the conversation's been around the centre back.
Exactly, yeah, which is where my focus would have been. I think it probably was time for Bath to come in and have a game. But no, he's gone with Yanulis out, McCallum in, so that's an interesting one. If it is Gibson either to throw it further forward, I mean, that's quite an interesting one as well, because I go back to Liam Gibbs' first senior goal in the Championship, which was at Blackburn, around about Easter last time. Yeah, and he played in the 10 role that day, and he scored an excellent goal, breaking on beyond Josh Sargent as it was. And ever since that point, I personally wanted to see a little bit more of that, and it hasn't really happened for one reason or the other. He's found it much tougher this season to go on to get the minutes he was getting at the start and the end of last season. So today, for me, it's another opportunity for Liam Gibbs, and of course, Adam Eder, as has been pointed out, I think on social media, you look at his actual goals and his assists in terms of his minutes on the pitch, and you can't really argue in terms of his productivity in the Norwich shirt this season. So it's another opportunity for Adam Eder, because I don't think Hwang has really made a compelling case that he is the player who needs to lead the line. So yeah, there's some interesting calls there, and as always with these things, we can discuss it now at 55 minutes to go before the game, but ultimately it'll be decided when the whistle blows. And yeah, I mean, it's good for me. I don't think Gabby Zara, although he did score the other night, I think he didn't feel like he was in the meat of the game. He was on the periphery, and maybe dropping him a little bit deeper could suit him more today. I didn't think, just checking, I didn't think we thought we'd see Forshaw in the lineup because of his backstory injury-wise, and so that wasn't a huge surprise. But I'll throw it back to you, Connor. I mean, are you surprised that he's gone one change to that back four, and that changes Dimi Yanulis out and Sam McCallum in?
I'm surprised that's a change, yeah, particularly when you consider Sam McCallum, as of late and throughout this season, there's been some occasions where he hasn't even made the matchday squad, and he seems much more inclined to play Shemiswar Poeta there. Obviously, Poeta needed further forward. It'd be interesting to hear post-match the rationale behind Dimi Yanulis dropping out, because by and large, I think he's been very good this season, actually. Whether that is just a fitness point, I'm sure he's going away with Greece as well over the break. So that is really interesting. And then as we see, we kind of see him shuffling, as he has done, those more attacking options. I think we're in a position to bring you the Coventry team, so hopefully that will flash up. There we go, right on cue. And this is how Coventry line up. They've got a few midfield issues in terms of injuries. They line up with Wilson in goal, Thomas, McFadden and Kitchen as the back three, Sakamoto on the right, Eccles, Allen and De Silva make up. Of course, they will be wing backs, and Ayari behind that front two, which has been, as Paddy explained earlier, expensively assembled. Ellis Sims and club record signing Haji Wright. And just to read you their subs bench: Collins, Binks, Bidwell, Latabudier, Van Eyck, Egosa, Stretton, Obiku and Matt Godden as well. I feel like you're probably the best person to ask about that Coventry team, Pad. It's interesting that he's gone with Sims and Wright. I think in recent weeks it's been either or, so the fact he's named two, I think Haji Wright is rapid by all accounts. I'm sure Mark Robbins has done his homework on this Norwich City defensive lineup.
I'm sure he has, yeah, and probably felt there's a vulnerability there, let's be brutally honest. I mean, obviously Sims and Wright, they're the two kind of big summer signings. Wright apparently is a club record 7.7 million, and Sims I think scored 2 last Saturday from memory, and apparently could have easily had a hat-trick that day. And so that suggested that maybe he's getting to grips with it, but then didn't really impress by all accounts midweek against Blackburn, whereas Wright, the guy they brought in from Turkish football, US international, did come on and got the goal, got the winner, 85th minute winner. So I think there's a sense around this place that they've got two very potentially good strikers at this level, but neither of them have really put a marker down yet, and let's hope that isn't today. But the fact that he's named them both, he clearly feels that that's the way to get at this Norwich team. And let's be brutally honest, you go to the Plymouth tape, you go to the Swansea tape to a degree. One or two other games, they do look a little bit vulnerable. Let's be honest, Gibson and Barnes and Stuffy, do look a little bit vulnerable. So I can fully understand where Mark Robbins is going with that. Apparently Sakamoto is again another one of their summer recruits, Japanese attacking player. He's playing him in a wing back, I think, again today. Very, very good going forward, but not the best defensively by all accounts. So,
is that the thinking behind McCallum, do you think?
Yeah, that could be it. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, that could be it. Now I've seen the Coventry lineup, and if Norwich can nullify that aspect, that by definition may cut the supply lines to Wright and to Sims. But if you break down this game, it's very clear that Norwich's two centre backs, if they can get the better of the two Coventry forwards, then there's something here for them today. If it goes the other way, I'd fancy Coventry to probably get the result.
Yes, I can see a couple of questions about Norwich City's new sporting director. They did, of course, announce Ben Napper, who is currently at Arsenal, or has just left Arsenal as of yesterday. He was their loans manager, due to take up the post next month. I can see Stuart Webber if I look to my right, so he's definitely here today. Ben Napper, I think we're led to believe is just taking a few weeks to himself before he links up with Norwich. We're probably not going to speak about that too much in depth today, but we are going to record a separate podcast on Monday all about that and all about him. So that will be worth checking in on. And yeah, for all of the questions, I don't think he's going to be here today. I'm open to be pleasantly surprised. I don't know that for sure, but just the soundings you get, it sounds like he's going to take a couple of weeks before eventually joining up with Norwich next month. I will throw one question at Paddy about it though, and again we'll go in more depth on the podcast on Monday. What do you make of that as an appointment, Pad? Because I think there's been certainly lots of whispers around who it might be. I think we got a win last week that it was pretty close. Norwich were pretty close to getting who they wanted. Looking at the calibre of this guy, very data orientated, probably doesn't come as a surprise that he's kind of been selected amongst a field of candidates.
Yeah, and of course, I mean the thing in his favour is the Arsenal, wrapping round his career. If you're operating as he is in his mid-30s, very in football in sort of off the pitch senior role at that age for a club of that scale, you've clearly got something about you, and you're right, Connor. There's two things that stand out to me if you go and look at actually what he was doing at Arsenal in terms of his career path. Two things: data, very impressive there, a bit of a visionary by all accounts in terms of the data front, and we know Norwich have pivoted towards data, particularly in terms of recruitment. The appointment of Dr. John Iger there a couple of seasons ago.
An innovation team they've created.
Exactly, and then the Brewers as well. I link up with the Brewers whenever you hear about the shared sort of practice. It's always from the US baseball angle at the data elements, that they're way ahead maybe of English football per se, but Norwich individually. So you drop this guy in, you can see why that makes sense. And then the other thing for me that stands out is in his role as a loans manager at Arsenal, that wasn't simply about you send a young player out, you keep in touch with them, you're on the phone to them. Because if you look, there's a few interviews he did where part of that strand was, and it would appear that they felt Chelsea would really stolen a march, that they'd use that loans route as also a revenue driver. Players who maybe weren't quite good enough for Chelsea's first team, turn them around, get them loan experience, get their profile up, and then sell them on. You look at Arsenal in these last couple of windows, and he's been responsible for that. Two names, Balogun, following Balogun, went on a good season in France last season, 38 million reportedly, moved on for last summer. The window before, Joe Willock, I think it was, went to Newcastle, and Steve Bruce, again, caught the eye, reportedly £25 million. So if you're Norwich City, and there's going to be a lot of continuity in terms of from Atanasio down, what they're trying to do, we know that one of the key pillars for this club at the moment is self-generation of developing players, selling them on. Obviously, in the interim, you hope they're good enough to come in and improve your first team, but as we saw with Aaron, to a lesser extent, but certainly Maddison and Lewis and Godfrey and so on, Buendia, they need to get back to that, clearly, don't they? And this guy, with his track record, it would appear he can bring that. Well, as you say, Connor will park it. We'll get into it in more depth. I think there's other maybe areas that would concern you in terms of his career profile and what he will now be expected to do in other areas of a sporting director role at Norwich. But for me, they're the two main ones. It's his ability to maybe generate funds in terms of player development, and also his outlook in terms of data, because as we know, data now is a crucial part in modern day football. So it feels exciting, it feels fresh, and maybe it feels a little bit, dare I say, how it was when Stuart Webber walked through the door and nobody quite knew how it was going to play out. So yeah, but as you say, we'll get into that in more depth maybe starting next week.
Yeah, and all I would say, I know there's been a lot of attention on the fact he was a loans manager at Arsenal. It is a route the sporting director, or people have taken to become a sporting director. Julian Ward at Liverpool was loan manager for a period of time. There are other examples as well. So yeah, we'll get into more detail around that. Very quickly then, Pat, because we've already been going for 15 minutes. How do you see this game going today? And let's have that score prediction as well.
Thank you. Just to get the team sheets. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. How do I see it? Well, I'm looking over to my right as it is, and there's starting to fill up 3,000 plus away fans here. They've had some poor old fare in the last 3 or 4 away games, and 3 defeats on the spin in the league. So if it's another defeat today, I'm going to be very intrigued what the reaction is of that fan base. Obviously, a lot of that will hinge on the performance. If they're unlucky and they go down, then you can roll it forward. But 2 weeks to stew on it. Daniel Farker and Leeds next up at Carrow Road. You don't really want that narrative around David Wagner leaving this game today. So I'm not fence sitting, but I think that Norwich's desperation to get a result today will probably, and given it doesn't feel like Coventry are really firing on all cylinders yet, they're still working through that post-Wembley hangover, I feel, from what I'm led to believe. So we'll go goals, 2-2. Connor, you?
3-2 Norwich.
3-2 Norwich.
I never go big, so I thought I'd go big today, and it'll inevitably end up 0-0 off the back of that. Thank you all very much for watching. Pinkin.com, the place to go. Come and join me on the live blog throughout today, and Paddy's the yellow. There you go. Look.
I'm yellow.
So there we go. We will see you very soon.
And a sky blue.
And a sky blue. Yeah. Cut you in half, and you're half of each. Anyway, plenty of analysis and reaction. I did want to mention as well, Norwich City are going to have Samaritans on the front of their shirt today as part of a league-wide initiative, which I think they've led by all accounts. And you will have seen a team graphic that has gone up listing a lot of people who could be affected by mental health. So it's great to see the club doing those type of initiatives, and that will undoubtedly raise a lot of awareness for what is a very worthwhile charity. So worth mentioning that as well. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again very, very soon.